Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for joining another special YouTube video tonight here. I've got tonight, all the way from Knoxville, Tennessee, my friend who I've not seen in 20 years maybe, from Bible College, Mr. Josh White from Knoxville, Tennessee. So for those of you watching that are from the Bible College, you'll recognize Josh White. He's in shape now. Looks like you've been hitting the weights and running.
So yeah, man. So
miles a day.
For anybody who sees this, yeah, back in Bible college, I was a little bit bigger than what I am now.
We'll put a picture up. But it's this right here.
That's
You're a big guy.
I was a big guy, man. I was a big guy.
And for your age, you were 14 when he was 14 years old when they let him join the Bible college.
They did. So no, but it's what's funny about that is, like, I'll never forget this Dominion Hall, right? Like, you remember Dominion Hall, and there was, and of course at that time Bible college wasn't very big. There was maybe 300-400 students. Like, it wasn't big at all. But we had orientation, so everybody had to go in Dominion Hall for the first day of Bible college, and everybody's.
I remember this.
So everybody's in Dominion Hall, right? And Brother Canfield's up. I don't even remember what he was saying. But all of a sudden he said, now if there's anybody that is under the age of 18, we're going to need you to raise your hand because there's some other things that you have to do. And out of 300 people from the back,
of course,
my big bear claw goes, I was the only one in Dominion Hall that was 17 years old.
But the biggest one in Dominion Hall. That's hilarious.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
He was the size of a football player at the age of 17.
I was.
Some people are just built bigger.
So I was as tall as I was fully grown, 6'4". But I went into Bible college.
What'd you weigh?
So I went into Bible college at 330 pounds.
Come on now. That's the size of an NFL player.
It is. It was. Yeah. I carried it well though, if I'm being honest. Like
because you were just a big dude.
I was a big old boy. Big old boy, man.
And that's why they recruited you to be part of the a story for later, but he was recruited to be part of the executive security team for our pastor. And we were at a mega church. To non-church people, that sounds strange, but a mega church with a maybe a couple of thousand people on Sunday morning, and plus he did a lot of traveling too. So
he traveled all the time, like most of what he did is travel. So yeah.
He was very and still vocal against abortion and against certain political groups that were for that, and spoke a lot about Middle East issues, which never goes well.
Probably
with
not.
with terrorists. And some members of Islam, they're quite sensitive to what you say about it. A tiny bit sensitive to it. So he did have an executive, and at that time, I would say, and I've heard that there was and could be a legitimate security threat. It was good to have a handful of people around that just made sure nobody crazy got through the group.
That's
or something
pretty
like that.
much the extent of it right there. You gotta have it. Gotta have it. It was fun though.
Wow, I bet it was.
Yeah.
So we started in Bible college in
it was 99 because I graduated a semester early from high school.
I remember landing there. I drove there. It felt like I flew there. It took forever, but it was December 29th of 1999.
Yep. That's exactly when it was.
Because the Sunday night, my church allowed me to preach.
Before you went?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they actually kind of raised up a little bit of money for me. They're like, hey, we're going to bless you with tonight's offering since you spoke and you're going to Bible college. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, man, what a blessing. That's great. And so I remember driving through the night and then getting at the dorms, what would have been a Monday morning, so the 30th, I guess.
Yeah.
And so me, you, and some other people, the dorms probably housed about 100 men and then 100 women, right?
Yeah, probably around
We
there.
got there a few days prior towards the semester starting.
Right.
Which was I planned that so I could get kind of a lay of the land.
Yeah.
Find out where everything is prior, just a few days prior to school starting. You did the same thing.
Yeah.
We didn't know each other before Bible college.
No.
They have everybody, what do you call that, housed randomly on the first and second floor.
Yeah.
You just happened to be from an hour away and you lived right beside me in the dorms. My roommate at the time was still out on his leave, and so it was just me in my room and then you in your room. And you either caught people in the hallway or you didn't. You really didn't know people to go look for people.
Right.
And so we just struck up a conversation one day in the hallway. And when you're new somewhere in the dorms, especially you've been to college, if you can find somebody in your state or near your state, you get to know them probably first because it's something you got some common ground.
Yeah.
And so we went probably to White Castle, which was...
As a matter of fact, I think that's exactly where we went the first time. Because it's a staple, what I call up north. Anything north of the Mason-Dixon line is up north. And they don't have crystals up there, right? So
it's the same thing. It's the North's versions of crystals.
No, it ain't the same thing. I don't think. I think that crystals is like... probably the middle class burger, and I think maybe White Castle may be like the trailer park.
How dare you?
The trailer park version. You can't go wrong with a White Castle at 3 a.m. when there's a dead body in the stall. You can't go wrong with it, but sometimes you just want crystals.
I loved it. There was a different, as one of our friends put it, Ben, and then your roommate was Ben from Alabama.
Alabama Ben, boy.
And they really should have second thought putting all of us Confederate hillbillies in one within 8 feet of each other, because now we're best friends. So
Yep.
We're all riding around and we go to White Castles. Ben has never been to White Castle. And back in the day, they had a sack of 10 for $5 if you could finish all 10.
Yep.
Now we can now because we're older or whatever. But back then we were, at least me, I was shorter and skinnier, but a sack of 10. And then we would go back to the dorms and pass out because there was so much what Ben called rat poison in those burgers that it had what's the word? It had a Dramamine effect to it where all you could do is go to bed because your cholesterol is up here, your diabetic and insulin markers are up here, the sodium is through the roof.
Well,
and so
you still
your
digest
blood
that.
pressure is up, and
Yeah.
then that was hilarious.
It 20 years later,
and we loved going to White Castle, and so that's how we probably started hanging out, was going to the White Castles, and then within a few days, class actually started, and we got to know other people from the school and other people in our dorms. And I tell you what was funny about the dorms that I remembered was in those bathrooms, they had this non-brand industrial strength Lysol.
Yeah.
And I remember, you'd be in the bathroom and you'd be sitting there reading the back of these cans because it was the only thing to look at.
There's nothing else in there.
and you would be reading it, and this was before cell phones.
Yeah.
So you're reading the cans of air cleanser in the bathrooms because there was nothing else to look at. And the list of ingredients was just, you couldn't pronounce any of it. But I do remember specifically, and I don't care what you think about this or not, but it said China virus. It said coronavirus, and it said Hong Kong flu.
No, it didn't.
Because I remember we would joke, because it would happen. This wasn't the ingredients. This was the list of stuff it would kill. Was the Hong Kong flu. Because I remember that, because whenever one of us would get sick, I'd be like, oh, well, Derek's out with the Hong Kong flu this weekend. And it was a joke to the list of the crazy stuff this stuff would kill. Fast forward, 20-something years, here we are. And there was a real thing called the coronavirus, and there was actual corona before coronavirus, and there was a Hong Kong flu before.
Dorms too, of course, the dorms themselves, I was a big old boy. Those dorm rooms wasn't very big.
They were small.
They were tiny.
They were 10 by...
I think they were 10 by 12 or maybe even 10 by 10. I mean, you could literally stretch your arms out and I could almost, touch both walls. And there was 2 people in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 people. And there was no television. You remember that? Like you can't have... you couldn't have... Television was the devil, right? Like everything on television. So there was one TV. Your grandmother's TV from the 70s.
Yep.
The old wooden style TV.
And they played Pastor Rod nonstop.
And
videos.
It was just down in that communal room.
Yeah.
In that one right as you would walk in the door, that old 70s model TV playing All Hot Rod. Over and over and over.
I want to tell the funny stories up front because I know people lose a podcast about halfway through, for whatever reason. So I tell you one of my funniest ones. There may be more funny, but this is mine, is there were a couple of main classrooms, and we were in a lot of classes together because we were first year students.
Yeah.
Now, even though you sat in the back because your last name was W, and I was all up front with A, but sometimes for the heck of it, we would just sit where we wanted to sometimes. And some classes didn't have assigned seating, right. Some of the smaller ones. But this guy here, we would go to McDonald's for breakfast sometimes, and we were late all the time. Now, one of the few advantages to being Josh's friend, the disadvantages were sometimes we got each other in trouble. Our life before Christ, we didn't plan this. Our life before Christ was very similar. So when you get people that have familiar spirits, unintentionally, we kind of got each other into some bad thinking and bad habits sometimes. But one of the good parts about it was he was with the executive usher team and the Pastor Rod's executive. So if we were late, we could kind of get away with that because nobody wanted to approach somebody 6'4" and 350 pounds anyway.
No.
Who already had his head shaved and was wearing a gold medallion with a suit. Nobody wanted to approach him to start with. Number 2, staff people knew that you were one of Pastor Rod's security team dudes.
Yeah.
And so for all they know, you had just came from the executive office.
Yeah, they had no
And
clue.
you picked me up on the way to class.
I had no idea.
That is
let's call it a perk.
Yeah, that was a perk of it. So we would go to McDonald's. We never even had to use that excuse because no one
said anything.
Checked us, but we would go to McDonald's because we're running late. Shocker. And so I fell in love with the McDonald's 99-cent breakfast burritos with the hot sauce and some water or Sprite or something. And then you would get your McMuffins or whatever you'd get. But we would be sitting in class and the guy or the lady up there is talking about in the book of Ephesians, we're going to turn to chapter 3 and we're going to learn about, and they were teaching us historical context of the life of Christ and the apostles. And here's what this verse means. And out of nowhere, Josh White would be eating his McMuffin or Sacha's big big biscuit, and he would go, "Oh yeah, oh this is good. Oh, this is hitting the spot. Oh yeah, oh God, this is so good." And you could hear a pin drop, and he would do this, and people would be like, "What are those noises? Where are they coming from?" And guys, I know that sounds juvenile, because that's the way we acted sometimes, or at least Josh acted like a complete 3-year-old sometimes. And I'm telling you, and some people would laugh. Some people would be embarrassed. Some people would be pretty irate because you're grieving the spirit, brother. Yeah. Because there were a lot of people there that were ultra sensitive. They were ultra spiritual, and there were people in the middle of the line that may find that funny.
And then there was us that thought it was hilarious.
But he would do that, not all the time, which is comedic gold, because you got comedic timing.
Spots. You have to pick your spots 100%. It's all about timing.
I would tell that story to Ben Wall, who was not there. He came the semester after.
Yeah, he came after, right? Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we would just laugh, reenacting those McDonald yum yum good noises. And then we can imagine the people who are just losing their minds because we're...
Oh, yeah. Well, you've got like...
Or the ones that would laugh or whatever.
There were some...
It was fun.
Because everybody came from all over the world, right? I mean, there were people there from all over the world, and there were really people there, that were just... I don't even know what the correct term would be, but like... They just were not about any nonsense or any kind of levity or play, kind of whatsoever. So, but I find, and I have found in my life, that it's those that you just want to, they need a little happiness. I think I can give it to them with the sausage and egg McMuffin.
Oh, this cheese. Oh, yeah. Oh, Michael, hand me that mustard packet. And the Bible says the joy of the Lord is our strength.
It says that.
And Kamala Harris said something similar.
Hey, speaking, is that who you voted for?
No. Josh, please.
Well, I don't vote. See,
your vote counts. Every vote. We can't.
I can't be on a list. I'm on enough lists as it is.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Probably not allowed to vote.
I don't want to be on another list. I think they pulled jury duty from there anyway.
So that's a good story. And
I got to tell one thing. And I don't know if this dude, if old Alabama Ben is watching or not. Was you in the car? Was you in the car that day? I don't even remember. I think it was Burger King, maybe. I don't remember. We were at some fast food
I already know the story.
And if you know Ben, right? Like, Ben was from Alabama. Seriously, and I have an accent.
The deepest part of Alabama.
But Ben was from some hole in a tree trunk in Alabama that he crawled out of.
And came to Bible College.
And he come up to Bible College. And like, we were going to get something to eat. We're pulling through the drive-through, and he's driving. And he rolls one down. He says, "Yeah, give me a Whopper or whatever. Give me some fries, whatever." And the lady goes, "And what do you want to drink, sir?" And he went, "Give me some iced water." And she said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "I want some ice water."
Ice water.
And she said, "Sir, will you please say it one more time?" And he said, "I want some ice water."
Ice water.
And she said, "Sir, I'm going to tell you what it sounds like you're saying."
Now
it sounds like that you're asking me for ass water. And he went, oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let me say it to where you understand.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Ice water.
And then he had that laugh. That place hated us half the time.
Oh, God. Oh.
And so he just pulls on up to the window, and that lady did not say, sir. We're dealing with some urban commandos on the rough part of South Tussing Avenue.
God.
That young African lady did not say, sir. She was like, what you want to drink? And it was funny. God love her.
Hilarious. I'll never forget that. Ben, I don't know where you are, but I hope you remember how he used to answer the door? Like we'd go over to his apartment, right? And Ben would come to the door, and he would have it being nothing but his underwear.
Why? Howdy whities.
He'd have a ball cap on and his t-shirt, and for some reason he walked around with a guitar strapped to him the whole time, and he would answer the door with it. I don't even know if he knew how to play the guitar. I have no idea. I've never heard him play the guitar. I don't even know if he could play. But every time he would answer the door, he had no pants, just underwear, toting that guitar around. Toting it around.
That's funny.
And he would always say, I'm going to marry me somebody that better be able to sing to me. And he would go, I want him to sing me to sleep. Like, that was his whole deal. He just wanted to marry somebody that would sing to sleep. I don't know if you got married, but if you did, hopefully your lady sings you to sleep.
Who knows? Who knows? He won't return my messages, so we don't
return a message.
I said, Ben, give me a call. Let's catch up or something. Okay. You got any funny stories from the school?
Not really. Not. You'll have to edit that part out.
Do you want to hear that story?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that story.
Okay, so one of our favorite pastimes in the dorms was other kids. One of the greatest part, I'd tell everybody, if you're not going to go to Bible college or vocational school, go to a Bible college. Regardless of what your religion is, just go to a one-year Bible college, and it's going to do you all sorts of good. You're going to have a routine. You're going to have some sort of curriculum. You're going to have classes to go to. It's a notch above high school. Some of the credits will transfer, some won't. But you're going to get to know people from all over the world that you would never know. I mean, from a maturity standpoint, like, it helps you grow up. To move to a city that you don't know.
Yeah.
You need to find where your post office is, where you're going to get your groceries at. You're going to go look for jobs. You're going to go fill in a bunch of applications. You're going to change your phone number. Maybe, I don't know. But all of that is really, you find your dry cleaners.
Yeah.
All of that is really, really good
stuff.
stuff.
Becoming an adult.
You grow up.
And you have to grow up.
And you got to grow up quick, because you got to find a job. These days, you're hired online. You have Zoom. This was in the year 2000, 1999.
You looked in the newspaper for jobs still back
and you would go and you would fill out paper applications, and you would fill out 12. 2 people would call you, and you would pick whoever offered you the job. That is your job now.
Right.
So all of that is fantastic with part of the maturing process as a young man or woman.
Maybe don't go somewhere up north, though. Maybe go somewhere where it don't snow 9 feet in the winter.
Florida, Texas,
there you go.
Tennessee's
Anywhere like
good,
that,
Georgia, Kentucky.
They got no mountains. They got no hills up there.
That
and
snow,
the wind blows incessantly. That's all it does. Blow.
That snow could get some, and I loved it. But then there was periods of February and March and April where it was just kind of gray.
Yeah.
And the corn in the fields hasn't grown, and it was just...
And you're waiting for the children to walk out of it and it was take over
just
everything.
Tilled up dirt, and it was kind of depressing. But so to pass the time during those times, we would hang out in each other's dorms room. We would get to know each other's country of origin and what it's like there, and we got to know a lot of the Canadian people really well. Murray.
Yeah, I remember Murray.
Kevin Beerling. And some other Canadian guys. And what they say about Canadians so true. Just a level nicer than what we are.
So nice. So much nicer
so
than
nice.
what we are.
I wish Trump would lay off the Canadians a little bit. Just because we know some really good Canadians. Just ease up on everything there. But
really good Canadian. They have great maple syrup too.
Yeah. And I used to quote a lot of Dr. Mike Murdoch. He was a famous Bible preacher and teacher. I know
who Mike Murdoch is.
And Rick Metzger used to love me here because I had a lot of it memorized. Like I amazed myself with how much I had this guy's stuff memorized. And so Murray, I believe, was the one that nicknamed me because you don't nickname yourself.
No,
that's weird.
Don't.
That's unacceptable. But I'm pretty sure Murray was the one that started calling me doctor. Doctor, what would Dr. Mike Murdoch say about that? Or what would Perry Stone say about that? Because I had all this stuff memorized. And the nickname just kind of took off. And doctor you could use in a variety of ways. Dr. Love or Dr. Whatever or something like that. So they would use, and I did not like it used that way because I'm just like everybody else. You know, you're getting to know people, you're getting to know yourself, and they weren't your girlfriend just because you gave them a ride home from the dorms one time, but that was the personification of it.
Well, up there, I mean, do you remember the rules around women?
There was a couple.
There was a book. There was a book.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never forget this. So you couldn't. They called it PDA, no public displays of affection, right? So if you had an old lady and you was out, you couldn't hold her hand, you couldn't, give her a hug, nothing like that, because it's public displays.
We could hug, which was weird.
That's totally
But
weird.
I can't hug a girl that I'm taking to the movies.
No, can't do that. So I'll never forget this. I went on a date, and there was a movie out at the time called The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
You remember that movie?
Okay, yeah.
Great movie.
I've seen that.
Great movie. So anyway, I took this girl to see this movie, right?
With Bruce Willis.
Great movie.
Yep.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't demonic. So we get in, and dude, probably, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes into this movie, all of a sudden, she just says, "Hey, I got to go use the bathroom." All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
She got up. She never came back.
I never heard this story.
Dude. So, she never came back.
What was her first name?
I don't even remember her name. I don't remember what her name was.
How did she get home?
The only thing, she drove. You should ask me how I got home. You should ask me how I got back to the dorms. She's the one that drove.
Did you call Pastor Rod? He come get you?
Well, he didn't pick up the phone that day. So, I don't remember what her name was, seriously, but I do
That's
remember.
wild.
She drove a green Volkswagen Bug. That's the only thing I remember. And I talked to her like the next day or a couple of days after that.
Yeah.
This is literally what she told me. She said, "I can't watch stuff like that.
Right.
I'm here to serve the Lord.
That's true.
And you are just totally out of order." So that was my entire dating career at World Harvest. I was done.
Well, she was spot on. Whoever you are, young lady. Kudos to your gift of discernment.
Right you were. You have no idea what you dodged out on in the last 20 years.
But so my nickname, not my nickname. It sounds silly, but the name Dr. Allen, I liked it. I mean, that's a cool nickname.
I love it. I think
and
it's
it stuck. And so people just started calling me that sometimes, not all the time, because that'd be weird. But Murray loved to say that. Kevin Beerling loved to say that. And then I got into the third year class, which was they added a third-year class for advanced pastoral studies. And so by then, now our third-year class was awesome. It was Kabir, Sean, Murray, Silas, Ben Hornish. And it was a small group of, Candace Wright was in there, and it was just 15. It was a small group of just advanced, and it was cool. Well, like the instructors they were really laid back, and they were like, okay, here's how to handle church difficulty. I mean, the topics were real user-friendly, very practical.
Like real world.
Yeah. Okay. And we would spend the all day Monday, sun up to sundown on those classes. Well, by then, you've really made some friends in 3 years.
Yeah.
And so we're calling each other Archbishop, Prophetess, Dr. Allen, and all these cool nicknames, and it was just terms of endearment. We had so much fun with it, but I don't know what was going on this day, but I purchased a lab coat, I guess, because in the event, and it makes a great Halloween costume. Like if you needed a Halloween costume and you're tired of looking like Freddy Krueger for the 50th year in a row, you can just wear what we wore to Bible college and wore a lab coat.
There you go.
And you're a doctor. Great.
Yeah.
That's unique, you know. Or if you wanted to pose as a Walgreens employee and steal some stuff, you could. We didn't do that, but I'm just saying
no, we didn't do
there's all kinds of disguise work you could do with that lab coat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for whatever reason, maybe it was dress up day or whatever reason, I came to class wearing that lab coat. And I was only going to wear it for 20 minutes, just because maybe people were dressed up that day. I can't remember why I did that. But I came in that morning, and I came in the very back, and Brother Elder Bender, rest in peace, he's no longer with us.
I remember Brother Bender.
He was preaching our class, and he seen me come in the back, and I'm like, I don't want any attention, because I know I'm wearing a lab coat.
I don't want any attention. I just wore this lab coat. Pay no attention to me.
Because I'm wearing it for whatever reason. I don't know why. I still can't remember why. But Brother Bender says, "Oh, and let us welcome the doctor is in the house." And I was like, oh crap. This is exactly what I didn't want to look like. The tool wearing a lab coat at the end. He's like, let us celebrate the arrival of Dr. What's his name?
Dr. What's his name?
Yeah, Dr. What's his name?
Did he know who you were? He didn't know who you
were.
No,
because there's a few hundred people, and so everyone in the classroom turned around, and then everyone that knew my name as Doctor was like, yeah, it's Dr. Allen, hey, Dr. Allen from the dorms who's got all of Pastor Rod's books memorized. He's got the photographic memory, and we can quiz him on anything that's written. But anyway, I thought that was kind of a funny story, but that name still carries. And my friends Candace or Megan, they'll drop something on Facebook.
Really? They still call you Dr.
Hi, Doctor. How are things going, Doctor?
I think it's a fantastic name.
It's hilarious.
I love it. I love the fact that
and I really should have been a doctor. You know what I mean? If I had a time machine, because I'm good with people and I've got some empathy, I would really like to work on people's like broken bones and like crush them back into place and get them bandaged. Like first aid's kind of my thing. I like that. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe I should have.
You've probably been a good doctor.
Maybe that was God saying you probably should have been a doctor. But anyway.
Maybe. I mean, you could always go back to school, but it'll take you a minute.
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good. That's what we're doing good. Okay, so during Bible college, what we really enjoyed more than Bible college was taking a break during Bible college, spring break, fall break, or sometimes just taking a weekend and driving.
Yeah.
We were Bible college, Columbus, Ohio for me right now is 7 hours away with some stops.
Yeah, it was 6 for me because I'm an hour and a half north of
Yes. So we could get to your place. What we would do is sometimes on a Friday, we would get a weekend pass and we would just check out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Good to get away.
Yeah.
Now, one weekend, we were down there hanging out at your house, and I'm watching TV. We had crashed at your place because it was the closest, thing. And then the next day or so, we're going to drive right back.
Get up and drive right back. Yeah.
And for whatever reason, you had sometimes a problem with anger. A little bit of an anger issue from a guy that's 6'4",
yeah,
300 something pounds.
They made the people in my life now, like my wife, my kids, they may tell you that I might still have just a slight hypothetical.
You need deliverance.
Anger issue. I've seen that movie.
No, that's another kind of deliverance. So now I was still kind of juvenile or something. I loved pushing Josh's buttons. Nothing is funnier than poking the bear and being able to outrun him. And I loved pushing this guy's buttons to the point of first-degree murder and then just backing off and going, well, I'm sorry, were you so upset? And I got a sick kick out of it. Well, one morning, Josh is trying to find something on TV to watch. And trying to be a good Christian, I have landed on one of my favorite Bible teachers, Kenneth Copeland.
Oh, God.
And when you're in Bible college, it's coming out of your ears. We're at church 3 times a week. We're in school 5 days a week, plus the 2 chapels. That's 7 times. That's 7 services, plus the dorm services, and plus the dorm people. There were some kids that didn't work. Yeah. And so what they did during the day is they had their own Bible studies, and you could hear them praying in tongues whenever you would be waking up or going to work or something.
Anything.
It's too much sometimes.
Yeah.
And so Josh didn't want to hear, this was, hey, no Bible weekend, just 24 hours of just not that. And so I would hand them the rope, then I'd take it away. I'd hand the rope, then I'd take it away. I'd hand the rope, take it away. And I'm like, well, Josh, what do you want to watch? And he's like, just anything from that. I'm like, all right. Here's the A-Team. The A-Team's on. Some reruns of the A-Team. Cool. And then I would turn it back to Kenneth Copeland. And I would do this like a 5-year-old. And I am raising this guy's tachometer. His blood pressure is ever increasing. And I know he's getting pissed. And I'm just like, keep it on. There's still a little bit more room left before his gasket completely blows. And then that's when I'll stop. And that's when I've achieved my enjoyment out of it. Josh leaves the room, comes back a few minutes later, and puts a 9mm handgun to my head and says, you better change the freaking channel right now. Change this freaking channel right now. And I
didn't want to watch Kid
blown away.
I did not want to watch.
No pun intended. I knew you weren't going to shoot me. I knew you probably could have. I wasn't. I knew you weren't. So I didn't get mad like you just almost killed me. But at the same time, that's how not too far away from psychotic you were just to even do that act.
Yeah.
Because those kind of gun accidents happen all the time.
They happen all the time. They do. You're right, Mike. They happen all the time. What can I say? I did not want to watch.
But that was funny, and we laughed about it the rest of the day. And I changed it. Okay, that was my That's when I said, okay. This is where I've annoyed this man so much. with Kenneth Copeland, a Bible speaker about faith. This guy's ready to at least pretend that he's going to commit first-degree murder with this.
Yeah.
What kind of gun was it?
It was a 9mm. It was a Glock 9mm.
It was a Glock 9mm. So for you to go through putting it up to my head, I'm like, okay, this joke has ran its course. I've won. So I will now.
You won.
I will now.
You won.
Submit the remote back.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. And you're right. Like sometimes, and listen, God's cool, man. That's all fine and good. But when you're in it 7 days,
it was a lot, man.
It's just a lot, and I just didn't want to watch.
I get it.
Old Kenny that day.
I get it.
Yeah.
That's so, people just need to agree to disagree sometimes, and you meet in the middle. I think we watched.
I think, that's absolutely
the Weather Channel or something.
Yeah.
Something.
Just
whatever's in the middle. Cartoons, probably.
Yeah. Not everybody's going to believe the way you believe or, do the things the way you do it. Just let them go.
And one Saturday morning, we woke up. And you said, "Hey, Road Dog." And I was eating cereal. You said, "Hey, Road Dog, let's go get tattoos."
Oh, God.
I'm like, where does this come from at 9 a.m. in the morning? No. Like, I knew back then that tattoos are trashy.
Yeah.
And they're going to be huge and in style.
Yeah.
And like everything else, it's going to circle back around. And people that look like the side of dumpsters and trains and buildings are going to wish they never would have done it. And I would rather just I'm going to pass on all that. I'm not going to participate in all that. And I said, no, I'm good. And you said, I'll pay for it. I'm like, all right, we're in.
Yep.
So we went down to
We went down to Harry's Hepatitis Cafe. That's where we went. And
do you know the name of the place?
It's not even there anymore.
It had no name. It was a garage.
It was beside a bicycle shop. It was
something tattooed.
So it was beside, and now the bicycle shop is still there, Greenlee's Bicycle. But this tattoo shop was literally, I think it's like a coffee spot or something now. Mm. And we walked in. And neither one of us had ever had tattoos. And I just thought, I was like, let's go get a tattoo. So we walked in, and this was like the grungiest, dirtiest little tattoo parlor. The guy, you can't even see that tattoo anymore because I covered it up.
That's right. You got yours covered up.
I got to cover up. But do you still have yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine. We just had to get a tattoo. And Bible college had an interesting...
We wasn't supposed to do that either.
Bible college was awesome. I learned a lot about God. I learned a lot about church. I learned a lot about the Bible. At the same time, that plate tectonic theory, where plates... how the earth, how the country separated was from pressure from underneath, causing countries that had like a weak fault line to kind of rub together and then separate and then pull apart a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I had a very good spiritual experience. But then at the same time, I would find myself, now this was just my personal walk with the Lord, I found myself like wanting to let my hair down, so to speak, because the spiritual pressure that I enjoyed, that I liked, was like, whoa, this is too much.
Yeah.
And maybe this is just me, but I was like, man, I feel like I should smoke a cigarette. I've got to go smoke or get a dip. And that was my old nature. Like I want something from my past to give me a little bit of comfort.
Yeah.
Because I'm hearing too many good Bible stories. That makes no sense. And I ashamedly felt that way, and I still don't know what the reason is for that. I coveted people's experience that were dialed in from the word go and dialed in at 10 p.m. and dialed in 2 years from that. They were dialed in. And some of those are my friends, and guess what they're doing? They got their own church, and they're rocking it.
Right.
They're doing a good work for the Lord.
Well,
I hate that wasn't my experience. But anyway, so when I would be asked to go get a tattoo, which was severely shunned upon, wait.
When you say severely shunned, tell me what you mean by that. Expand on that a little bit. Who shunned you, Mike?
Pastor Rod. My man. And it wasn't 2 weeks after we got that tattoo that he talked about it and I'm like, how does he know about everything we do? Because he would just he wouldn't use names. So and then we got some Bible college kids out here listening to Metallica going out and getting tattoos. How is God ever going to bless or use you? You come up here and tell us that, would you?
Right.
And I'm just going, how does this guy, how did he follow us to Knoxville? And I love me some Pastor Rod. I love that. But, so we were taking a risk going to go get a tattoo.
Yeah.
And it was such a novelty thing. I don't think they put it in the Code of Honor handbook, but
I don't know.
But it was a known, but not known. Hey, kids, don't be getting tattoos. We really frown upon that.
Yeah.
Now everybody's got. John 3:16 face tattooed to your face
over your eyebrow.
Yeah.
Would you say that since it's socially acceptable now, and we did it when it was taboo, so to speak, would you say that we could be considered trailblazers of this new modern church full of tattoos?
I guess you're right. I guess we were way ahead of our time.
Right. I think
we may be entitled to some compensation.
I think we should be entitled to a lot of pass the plate. You got the plate.
So my tattoo, I went into this small, tiny garage, and he's like, "What do you want for your tattoo?" And I said, "Well, I want something small. Okay, I'm not here to get something gigantic on my chest or face or nothing like that. I want something semi-respectable." And so I said, "How about Chinese letters?" Were a big deal. I didn't want to go trashy tribal on my arm or whatever.
Yeah.
But Chinese letters was a respectable tattoo. And so I said, just look, there's the letter M. My first name's Michael. My last name's Allen. There's the A. Easy peasy. All right. And that's something I can live with. That's something I can tell my kids and Pastor Rod about. And so there's Chinese letter 1, Chinese letter 2. And we get back to Columbus, Ohio, and then that night we're looking at them and we're putting the ointment on them or whatever. And in my head I'm like, are they supposed to be this faded? Like, it's been 3 hours. I thought they would look really cool, and they didn't look cool at all.
No,
and I'm like, well, maybe they'll look cool tomorrow.
Nope.
And I was like, yours is kind of faded too. So maybe the ink does this effect after hours or something. And the next day, they didn't look cool at all. They looked extremely faded. Mine was crooked. And they've looked that way ever since. To this day, I forget they're there. Like I forgot they were there 20 years ago. Till somebody goes, "What's on your arm? Is that a tattoo?"
Yeah, it is.
And then I'm like, yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. And it's ridiculous. And I haven't had the energy to just get it covered.
Get it covered.
I finally know what I want to get it covered with.
Do you?
Yeah.
What is that?
So, do I have it here? It's over there, but it's my basic training. Where I went to basic training at, they've got their own battalion logo.
Oh no, you're not. Please,
and it's pretty cool.
Not. No, please.
What else are you going to cover it with?
Anything else other than that? Anything
that's actually pretty cool. And I'll show it to you later.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway,
I think
that's the faded tattoo story.
Yeah.
And so,
can you even like how bad? Because I got mine covered up like literally probably a year after, not even 2 years after. It's like, can you even see them anymore?
Yeah, it looks just as dumb and faded as it did 20 years ago. All right, let's wrap it up here. Maybe not funny. What was your best moments of the dorms or your best moments of Bible college?
My best moments.
Things that you enjoyed.
Honestly, I gotta. So I mean, you know me, man, and my experience up there. Which we won't get into too much here, but honestly, for me, it was just the people that I met. That was the best part about it. Just the people that I met. I was 17 years old. I was, trying to figure out how to be a man, how to be on your own, just like everybody else is, at a stupidly young age. And so when I met you, I met Ben, and I mean, it made everything easier. I enjoyed that camaraderie. I enjoyed experiencing the world. That's probably my best memories and my most fond memories is just y'all. I mean, I remember, Brother Canfield and Mother Parsley and all them running around blowing on folk.
Chapels were lit.
Dude, yeah, chapels were crazy.
Chapels were on fire.
Chapels were crazy, and they would go, they'd go for a minute. They'd go for a while.